More tenants are losing their bond. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from Domain. This is discussing more tenants losing their rental bonds amid the pandemic. Now, before we go through this, let's jump over here to the Property Council data room, and I just typed it into Google, while we still can use Google in Australia. And let's have a look at residential, and we'll look at some rental prices. We'll see my NBN chugging as if it were a dial-up modem. Thumbs up if you remember paying for internet, in 20 hours per month using the old dial-up guys. So the median residential house rents, we have Canberra, $580 at the highest. This data is from 30th of April. The weighted average is at $457. Sydney's at $550. Then you got Darwin at $480. Darwin, why is Darwin so expensive, guys? Can someone let me know from up there? Just shortage of supply. I guess there'd be some people working up there in the military, and there's mining projects up there. Hobart at $470. Melbourne at $430. Good old Brisbane at $420. Adelaide at $385. And Perth rounding it out at $380. Now, unit rents. Sydney's at the top with $530. Then you've got Canberra at $480. Weighted average at $457. Melbourne at $435. Hobart at $410, Brisbane at $390, Darwin at $360, Perth at $350, and Adelaide at $330. Now, how long is a bond again? Could someone remind me in the comments? Is it a month? You have to pay a month of bond, I'm assuming. Last time I did, then probably 2 weeks of rent in advance. I'm happy I'm not renting anymore. I really am. But what this tells us is, well, maybe people just stop caring about their bond, walking away, or people are just breaking lease and having to get out of it. We never get any interest on our bond, do we? You have all this money sitting there and you don't earn a penny interest. It's a big reward. So spike in tenants losing rental bond amid the pandemic. Almost 1 in 5 rental households across New South Wales are losing their entire bond as the number of tenants vacating properties continues to rise amid the pandemic. About 18% of renters failed to get any bond money back over the June quarter, with the largest spike in bond losses across inner Sydney, figures from the New South Wales Fair Trading show. In some pockets, almost a third of tenants lost their entire bond. Almost a third. The latest quarterly bond data showed the largest number of renters are under financial strain, according to the Tenants Union of New South Wales Chief Executive Leo Patterson-Ross, with more people using bond money to cover break lease fees or settle rental arrears when they could no longer afford their rental property. So they're getting desperate and they're just having to step out. This isn't really a surprise. We look at the unemployment rate, everyone. It's shooting up. People are getting desperate. That V-shaped recovery, I can't see how it's going to materialize. Sydney-wide, you can see it, Mr. Patterson-Ross said, of the rise in bonds lost, which increased in April and ramped up in May. But he noted tenants in the city centre and eastern suburbs and the inner west areas popular with both international and foreign students had been the hardest hit. Bond data showed more than 30% of tenants in postcodes covering the CBD, Ultimo and Pyrmont lost their full bond. This was up from 7.4% of renters in the city centre in the previous quarter, and 14.5% in Ultimo and 11% in Pyrmont. That's nuts. That's nuts. These were among the 16 postcodes covering the likes of Macquarie Park, North Ryde, Surrey Hills, Waterloo, Neutral Bay, and Manly, where the proportion of tenants losing their bonds more than doubled year on year. Now, you can't say this is just a surge in demand for smashed Ave that's driving people here. This is a manifestation of this recession we're in. Why are there's still property spruikers thinking that times are going to be good. This is just a sign, everyone. Have a look here, where the proportion of bond loss increased the most. 32%, 31%, 30%, nearly 32%. Kingsford, 26.5. Waterloo, 23. 22.4. 21. Atramon only at 6.1%. So not too bad. But look at those increases, nearly 30%. Look at the jump. The delta change from the previous quarter, or the same from a year ago. It's doubled. More than doubled. Nearly 3 times as much. Doubled. 3 times. Nearly 3 times. So you can see what's going on here. May was the first time in 4 years that more people in the CBD lost their whole bond than got their whole bond back. Usually about 50% or more get it back. Just over a third did. That's quite a big turnaround, Mr. Patterson Ross said. He added, while there were typically more leases started than ended in Sydney, this had reversed in some areas. So, those investment properties, the people have got 5 of them, all negative geared, paying interest-only payments, depending on the rent. Yeah. The disruption to the rental market has been significant in a short period of time, said Domain Senior Research Analyst Nicola Powell. We've seen certain areas be highly impacted by people consolidating homes and moving to cheaper rental properties. It could be a cost saving for them to break a lease and lose a bond if they cannot get a rent reduction. This is the thing. And you've got to think as well from the landlord's perspective. Maybe it's smarter to take a hit rather than have nothing, because the vacancy rates are getting pretty high as well. Maybe there's some people that are buying it. Do people think that the market's going to jump back, that we're not going to have a recession? This has been the bubble that's expanded and has been burst by this pin. Property's taking a hit. They're doing everything they can to chuck in housing. Maybe. Dr. Powell said Sydney's rental vacancy rate was easing, down from a peak of 4% in April, but stressed markets reliant on new arrivals and foreign students would likely remain weak until international borders reopened. And we saw now in Adelaide, or in South Australia, well, pretty much Adelaide, where international students are starting to fly in. They're doing a test. 200 students. And in the comments, people have told me that the universities are paying for that accommodation. But if you're from South Australia or in Victoria, you can't even get back to your own state. It's all to do with political power, everyone. It's all to do with political power, and the universities have it. They have it in buckets. And most people are so politically apathetic, they don't care. They just vote away their rights and they don't even realize. Some of them want the theatre of safety and are willing to sacrifice their liberty. Of about the 85,800 rental bonds refunded across the state, 15,380, 17.9%, were paid in full to the landlord, with tenants losing an average bond of about $2,000. This was up from 15.7% of bonds the previous quarter. Rental bond data showed 16 tenants lost at least $10,000 or more in bond money. Wow. With one Mossman tenant losing the $42,000 bond on a 4-bedroom house, which was held for just over 60 days. About 4,000 bonds across the state were held for less than 100 days. Well, that's... damn. What the data did not show, Mr. Patterson Ross said, was the tenants who had paid out more money on top of the bond to cover break fees or rental arrears. He added, before the eviction memorandum or moratorium and guidance on rental waivers or reductions were in place, many tenants had chosen to cut their losses and move out rather than accrue rental debt. President of the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales, Leanne Pilkington, said agents had reported an increase in tenants losing bonds in the inner city and surrounding suburbs, particularly around the university. They've got foreign students who have gone home and sent the keys back. Sometimes they owed more money than was left on the bond, so all that's gone to the landlord, she said. It's been those inner city areas that have been the most COVID affected, said Amy Sanderson, network head of property investment management at LJ Hooker. Most tenants are requiring assistance, have asked to renegotiate, and are relocating to take the pressure off. Ms. Sanderson noted there'd probably been a slight increase in bond disputes as tenants and landlords faced financial pressure, but the majority of people were doing the right thing. She added, while bonds a slight increase. There's 30% of people now are not getting their bonds back. She added, while bonds were meant to cover the cost of any damage, property managers rarely refuse tenants needing them for rental arrears or break fees. While rental prices had fallen, there would still be tough times ahead, with JobSeeker and JobKeeper to reduce in September, and many rental reductions scheduled to come to an end, Ms. Sanderson said. The first phase was behind us, Mr. Peterson-Ross added, but he expects to see more tenants vacating properties and losing their bonds in the coming months, and added renters were already trying to renegotiate rental reductions granted earlier this year. While the largest increases were mostly in inner-city suburbs, the proportion of bond losses remained highest in cities west and southwest, with full bond losses by more than full bonds lost by more than 40% of Sefton and Yaguna. At least a third of renters in postcodes covering Mount Druitt, Lakemba, and Ashcroft. Mr. Patterson-Ross attributed high bond claims in these areas to less awareness of rental rights, as opposed to the differences in how properties were treated. Sure, we'll see. It was also easier for low-income earners to fall into rent arrears due to financial shock, as was now being seen across the city. And I think that's the real reason right there. People are just struggling. And the poorer are going to cop it. We can see here the economic impact of these closures have affected the people who are in retail most, services industries most, as opposed to people who can work from home. What do you all think, everyone? What do you think? Do you think this is just the beginning? And how will this manifest in the valuation of rental properties? As always, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye for now.